Crooked teeth. Are they genetic, or can your lifestyle influence them? Medicine should be about identifying and treating the causes of a problem, and many may be surprised to know that it is openly admitted by the orthodontic profession that they do not know the cause of crooked teeth or incorrect facial growth. If you don't fix the cause of a problem, it is likely to recur, which is a significant problem in orthodontics, with worryingly high levels of relapse even after surgery, and almost all patients being told to wear retainers to keep their teeth straight after braces indefinitely. It has been assumed by both the profession and by the public that the cause of crooked teeth is genetic. Indeed, there are strong genetic influences controlling how we look, and we clearly resemble our parents. But in the case of crooked teeth, the hard science suggesting a genetic cause is weak, while there is a lot of good evidence suggesting that it's environmental, your lifestyle. In April, it was 10 years since I published a guest editorial in the British Dental Journal asking my profession, or the British Orthodontic Society, for a debate on the etiology of malocclusion. Medicine is about treating the causes of a problem, as I say, but even when this does not fit with the prevailing therapies of the day. Before we get on to this topic, I would like to thank our patrons for their support. We're building a better and more informative channel. So, why are teeth crooked? On the genetic side, class 3 type malocclusions, prominent mandibles, are often considered the type of malocclusion with the strongest genetic cause. The example, often cited as evidence that class 3s are genetic, is that of the Habsburg family. And as such, I feel this is a good reflection of the quality of evidence underpinning the genetic assumption in general. It has been observed from portraits that the Habsburg family had a strong tendency towards class 3, prominent lower jaws, which seemed to run through the family resembling a genetic trait. However, this assumption relies on evidence from portraits, and apparently when some of the bodies of the Danish relatives who were painted as class 3 were moved, exhumed, they were examined, and it was observed that actually they were not class 3. Possibly at a time when malocclusion was predominantly confined to the elite. To have a class 3 type malocclusion, or any malocclusion, like the rich and powerful Habsburgs, could have been seen as a desirable trait, thus influencing artists. The Habsburgs were also likely to have had suffered from the side effects of excessive inbreeding and the diseases that accompany it, meaning that their condition may have been genetic, but not their class 3 malocclusion. A significant concern of modern orthodontics is that malocclusion is being treated as if it were predominantly a genetic condition. Consider this diagram taken from Profit, the author of Contemporary Orthodontics, possibly the most popular orthodontic textbook worldwide. Now, to quote, "From a broad perspective, only about 1/3 of the US population has a normal occlusion, while 2/3 have some degree of malocclusion. In the malocclusion group, only a small minority, not more than 5%, have problems attributed to a specific known cause. The remainder are the result of a complex and poorly understood combination of inherited and environmental influences," which means that an identifiable cause can only be given in about 5% of cases. This 5% includes pathological situations like syndromes, trauma, infection, diseases, as well as more common problems such as tongue thrusts, missing teeth, and thumb sucking. So, for the average child that attends their orthodontist, there is no real understanding of the cause of the problem. Robert Corricini, an American anthropologist, conducted a study comparing 10 occlusal traits in 358 pairs of twins, comparing non- and identical twins. He found that heritability estimates range from 0 to 40% and were erratic, suggesting a limited inheritance for both skeletal or dental malocclusion. It is important to understand that without genes, there is no growth. And 40% genetic determination means that it is almost entirely due to the environment. Karin Carrols, a professor in Belgium, did a study with a smaller group, 79 sets of twins, also comparing identical and non-identical twins. The data was very carefully collected, and what she discovered was that, on average, 76.2% of the variation of the linear measurements was determined by genetic factors, which is often taken to suggest that genetic factors are more important. However, this leaves a quarter of the variance environmentally determined, which is easily adequate to account for most malocclusions. So, if it's not genetics, let's consider the environmental changes humanity has been through. We've been anatomical humans for at least 200,000 years, with only minor genetic changes in the last 10,000. Throughout our evolution, until civilization, all healthy humans had perfectly straight teeth. Then, wherever and whenever people became civilized, malocclusion crept in. And this seems to occur in relation to the levels of civilization they achieved. It is interesting talking to archaeologists who see that the more sophisticated the items people are found with, the more likely they are to have malocclusion. This occurs in complete isolation in various places around the world, from Central America in the west to the Fertile Crescent in Eurasia to China in the east, with good evidence that this regresses as civilization falls. This seems to have accelerated in the last 200 years. In Europe, until the end of the medieval period, nearly everyone had all their teeth, including their wisdom teeth, in reasonably good alignment from birth to death. And then, of course, there is the 5,400 species of mammals, for which all the healthy members of those species have all of the teeth they're born with in good alignment throughout their lives. The only other mammals we see malocclusion in, here in the UK, is our pets and feral foxes, as we would expect. This is also roughly true of all indigenous populations alive today too. If you see a BBC documentary visiting various indigenous groups from the Amazon jungle to the African savannah and the Australian outback, the one thing you notice is these people tend to have broad white smiles with far straighter teeth and better facial form than modern civilized humans. Then we have experiments of nature. Consider Stephen Hawking. We can see that when he got married, he has a good facial shape and a well-developed jaw, by modern norms at least. He's also walking with a cane because he's starting to show symptoms of ALS at this point. Jump forward several years and you can see how much he has changed. And note, that wasn't a growth change because he'd already grown. Another example is people who have suffered from strokes. If you have a stroke, one side of your face will lengthen, with the jawbone dropping down on that side of the face. And usually this is from the effect of only the muscles of facial expression being paralyzed, not the chewing muscles. This type of change to your facial skeleton can't be genetic. It must be the environment, and environment's having an influence on you. Now, this would be less of an issue if we were just talking about faces and teeth, although they are both very important. However, a face that has not developed correctly isn't going to function correctly. And we're seeing disorders like sleep apnea, chronic snoring, jaw joint pain, neck and back problems, and quite possibly a range of ENT issues such as glue ear, nose and throat problems and deviated nasal septums, also from the same causes. These are issues that must be taken seriously, and we need research, we need debate, and we need answers, because we need to understand why these problems are occurring. If you're new to the channel and you found today's video interesting, then please consider subscribing. We're putting new videos out most weeks, covering topics like TMJ, crooked teeth, and practical advice on how to develop your facial structure and more. Again, I'd like to thank our patrons, especially Michelle and Venus, for their generous contributions. If you would like to have your name credited in our videos, vote on upcoming topics, or see our videos a few days early, please consider becoming a Patreon on patreon.com/orthotropics. I would also like to remind our viewers that half of all the money we raise goes to the Craniofacial Health Foundation, a new charity dedicated to promoting awareness, education, research, and changes to health policy for all aspects of craniofacial health. Thanks for making it to the end. Show your support through the links below. Bye.